Yes. Okay, recording started, and and good afternoon. But just double checking a couple of things here, just in case. All right. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Today we are July 28th. It's a beautiful day. It's a great Thursday. But on top of that, we have Pablo Perez here, and I want to thank him for being with us at this moment. You know, it's great to talk to him. He kind of knows things that we need to learn as far as the life insurance business. He's a great man, family man, professional. He cares about others protecting themselves. So that's what we're talking. We're gonna do this in English, by the way. And at the end, we'll talk a little Spanish. If anybody wants to talk Spanish, we're cool with that. Um, so, Pablo, I want to thank you for your time and your testimony, things that you're going to share with us. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be very valuable to a lot of people that sometimes sit on the fence of not knowing, or they're kind of shy to call because they feel that if they call, they want to be, they're going to be sold right away. And I think you're a guy that gives information and help people out.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So, Pablo, first of all, welcome, man. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. I'm trying to stay cool out here in Texas. It's really hot.
How hot does it get in Texas, like right now? You like
right, man? We've been having a crazy heat wave. It's been over 100 degrees plus for the last, I don't know, it feels like the last 30 days in a row.
Oh my God.
And you mix that with humidity, man.
So it feels like 110. Yeah. So, I know you because we met a while back ago, and you were in Orange County.
Yes.
How the heck did you end up in Texas, man, from here to there? I know it's different living, 4 seasons, but tell me, how did that happen? To move from here to there?
Well, that's actually funny. So at the time, my wife and I were trying to get pregnant and have babies. So one of the things that ended up happening was we finally got pregnant. And when we finally got pregnant, the first thing that popped into my mind was, do I want to keep driving around all day in this crazy traffic?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when I'm meeting with clients, I usually meet in their home. And I was driving from LA to Orange County to Riverside to San Bernardino. And you know how those freeways can be. So one thing was, I made a decision. I remember my wife and I being in the kitchen, and I just kind of said, hey, we're moving to Texas, right? And as soon as the baby's born, we're going to make the move. Yeah. And she was just, that's so random. Why Texas? And there's a story behind that. But at one point, my wife lived out in Ohio while I lived in California. And she was like, move to Ohio. I didn't really want to move to Ohio. So I said, in the future, if we ever do move, we'll move somewhere in between. And Texas is where it was.
Little compromise there. Okay. All right. I got you. Texas. And where about Texas exactly you at?
I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Dallas. Oh, yeah. We're just right for the big city.
Yeah.
All right. So, and how are you liking it? How long you been there now?
We've been here 3 years. And to be honest, we got here, we were just going to test the waters and be out here for a year. We didn't really know if we were going to like it or not. We have a property out in California back in Anaheim. And we just told ourselves, well, we'll go check it out for a year. If we don't like it, we can just move back. And of course, that was in 2019. My daughter had just turned a year old. And then when we moved here, then the pandemic happened. So we didn't really get to experience, Texas. So we stuck around and we realized how much we liked it. And it's much slower pace of life out here. So I get more family time. And that's one of the reasons why I really like it out here.
Got it. Hey, listen, you got a new family growing, and it's a good way to make them feel in a different environment, which is what you wanted for them at the end. So that's what you're getting.
And the funny thing is, when we came out here, we came with just one child, and then now we have a little Tejana.
So
my daughter. Yeah, I have a daughter. She was born in Texas, so I have a California daughter and a Texan daughter.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Maybe she likes the Dodgers. She likes the other team from Texas. Who knows, right? Right. So Pablo, you're in the life insurance world. Sure, we all get older with different careers, but growing up, is that what you wanted to do when you started? Is that how you?
Nah, man. As a kid, the only thing I knew was I wanted to be a real estate investor. How? And it's funny, I can remember conversations with my dad growing up, and I would always tell him, hey, I just want to have lots of properties and be able to move around from house to house and not always know that I got property all over California. So I just wanted to always grow up being some type of an investor. I wanted, and then as I, went into my teenage years, I would tell my mom, hey, one day I'm gonna become very wealthy, and I'm gonna be rich. That's all. All I knew was that's what I wanted to do. So it was from real estate to building wealth, and but that's kind of what I've always wanted to do.
Now,
Not like for sure.
got it. Was this because of your dad that he did something in real estate like that, or you just told your dad, or what made you think of investing? Actually,
I think growing up, we bought in a house that was a new community, and it was always cool seeing new houses being built around us. And I was just like, man, what if I had like 6 or 7 of these? I used to love playing Monopoly.
Oh yeah,
and that's kind of how I guess related it. I always liked the little guy with the top hat.
yeah.
And I was like, man, to have that kind of money. The Monopoly game was the one that just kind of triggered that if you have real estate, you're going to have money. But I've always wanted to be in that.
That's interesting. Actually, if you think deep into it, that's a real safe thing to make you think of. But I don't remember thinking like that when I played Monopoly. I just wanted to collect the paper money and be the winner. But I didn't know that, man, I should be that.
But here's the thing: is because when you're playing the game, you're always counting money, and when you land on certain things, you got to pay rent. And I always just looked at the money being exchanged, and I was like, man, as your stat grows, what if this is in real life, right?
I know. That's excellent. Well, boy, that's a good game, actually. Real good game.
Yeah. But that's really what I wanted to do, man. And that's still the goal.
You can still do it. I do what you do as in the life insurance world. So look, how long you been self-employed now, man?
So I've been self-employed on my own since 2011, but my world of entrepreneurship began back in 2006. And it started like a lot of people that I know. I got into the multi-level marketing world where I was selling. I'm sorry?
In 2006, you started.
In 2006. Okay. But I held a job at the time, so I did it part-time to make extra money.
Yeah.
And I started to learn more and more about entrepreneurship. And, from that network marketing company, finally in 2011, I joined another company where I was doing pretty well. And I was able to just transition from leaving a paycheck to going all in on the multi-level marketing business. It was a skincare company at the time. I did all right, but that's when I finally let go of the security. I finally decided to just roll the dice on myself and learn to figure it out along the way.
So 2006 through when did you stop being in the
multi-level marketing? About 2012.
All right. Oh, okay, great. So that was really your last job, 2006 somewhere, and that was your last paycheck somewhere along the way, right? Before
No, 2006. I started to learn about what it would take to be self-employed because I was making money on the side.
Right. You had a job.
And then I found another company, or that company kind of found me, and I started doing pretty well to the point where I felt comfortable letting go of the job. And I decided to dive into multi-level marketing full time, and I did okay. I was paying the bills and making a little extra money. Sure. But then that kind of fell apart, and then reality kicked in.
Got it. So then I heard you say 2011.
Yeah. So 2011 is when I let go, and then I was all in on a network marketing company. So multi-level marketing, skincare company. I was all in, and I decided to let go of the paycheck. So that's kind of where I decided to just dive in, and I did work multi-level marketing full time for about 18 months. It was good while it lasted.
You didn't have any kids or married at that time, were you?
No, at the time, I was just dating. I was dating my girlfriend, which is my wife now. At the time,
so it's kind of easier to probably take more gambles, more risks. At that point, right?
I mean, it was. You already kind of know how it is, right? You roll the dice on yourself. You got nobody to take care of but yourself. And I'm one of those people who I get addicted to work, right? So I would get off from my 7 to 4 job and then go clock in and work the part-time hustle until 9 o'clock. And it was like 6 days a week, conference calls, meetings every week, trainings all the time. And it was just because I wanted to grow. I also got addicted to the growth.
Well, good morning.
In the network marketing world, that's kind of where you first start to learn about the Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So I started to dive into that, and it really, really was attractive to me. So I just started diving in and that's kind of what led me to continue to believe in myself, was reading a lot of those books.
Okay, all right. Well, that definitely gets you going when you start listening to those, reading those books, and you start opening your mind starts opening up about all the possibilities, and there you go. You started going into digging in deeper and deeper. So, any experiences along the way that you recall that tripped you up when you first started out?
Well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about. So what happened was, after the network marketing company in 2012, I decided to take some money and invest it in a steel company. Excuse me, that steel company. I threw all my money into it. Worked there for about, I don't know, I want to say 10 months, and man, that thing was just a bad move, bad investment.
Wow.
All my life savings, but I didn't think about it because I always just kept reading in the books. It always said about diving in and
Yeah.
going all in and not being afraid, and so I did it.
Yeah.
And I tried working it. I tried learning it. I'm not familiar with the steel industry. It was actually a steel company based out of Corona, in Corona, California. It's not there no more, obviously, but it tanked and it backfired, and it was just not a smart move, man.
One move you did do was you went all in, man.
I did.
Sure, that kind of gave you, hey, listen, well, later on in life, you go, well, shoot, at least I gave it all I got, and now you are doing it in other, paths that you went through. But
let me tell you what happened out of that experience, right? Because everything
learn
works.
something out of it, right?
Everything works the way it's supposed to when you do dive in. And so one of the things that ended up happening is, while I was there at the steel company, I hired a gentleman by the name of Jose. He's still a good friend of mine. And he was telling me that he had a credit repair side business that he did. And I was like, bro, what are you doing here? Like, why aren't you selling credit repair? Like, if you really can remove items off of credit, I know things about that. That's pretty cool. Like, why don't you just go all in on that? And he's like, well, it's up and down. A consistent business is not always flowing. So anyways, that's kind of where me and him met. And then out of that, that's how Metro Fund Financial and the credit repair business came into play down the road. So
doing that.
Yeah, and one of the things I loved about it is, when I partnered up, it was me, Jose, and my buddy David. We partnered up, and we were like, hey, this is a great way to be able to help people.
Yes.
Especially because we can literally delete items off of people's credit legally. And I was just like, this is cool, right? Like, a legit business that can really help, because there was a lot of fly-by-night credit repair companies. I don't know if you remember that time.
Oh yeah.
They promised you the world, charged you an arm and a leg, and didn't do anything for you.
That's right.
But one thing we did, and man, I just remember working with a lot of real estate agents and lenders. They would send us so many clients, and they were just in awe that we were able to fix people's credit that probably shouldn't have been in the house, but we were able to get a lot of people into a house. So, that's where that journey then started. So I went from network marketing full time to then making a bad move with the steel company. But if I didn't make that move, I would have never gotten that opportunity to get in the credit repair world and network with realtors like yourself, a lot of lenders, and then be able to help a lot of families, because that's really what I was looking for, is a way that I can help a lot of people. And that was 2008, we had the crash. People had bad credit.
Yeah.
A lot of people had homes on their credit report, second mortgages that were on their credit report. Yeah. And we were able to just delete, get their scores up to the 700, 740, 750. They couldn't believe it. And we did very well with Metro Fund Financial, my partners and I.
That's awesome. But you did a great service, and like you said, you got a lot of referrals because brokers were seeing that what you were doing worked, and you were really being honest with the customers, and that's why they kept going back to you.
Yeah, man, it's about results, man. If you can really help people, they're going to send you more clients, right? And I really genuinely believe that it's all about whatever you give to this world, it will give back to you. So if you help enough people, you'll make a good living, because it's just the way the universe works.
Great. Well, I'm glad that you lost your money in a way in the steel, because then you got the credit and you learned that, and you learned, or you already, you're just moving along the way for another successful ladder,
Right.
another step. So as you went up, You mentioned some books, though. I'm pretty sure that after this thing, who were your mentors that you kind of started following along the way now? Now, after on the credit repair, once you got going, I'm sure there was more people that now go, oh, shoot, there's a lot more to learn. Who are your mentors?
Well, I mean, honestly, the people that I learned from more than anything were in the network marketing world, just because it was really a mindset thing. I can mention a few, there was a gentleman by the name of Joshua Denny. That guy was an incredible speaker. Jesse McPherson, a gentleman by the name of Mark Smith. Those guys were people that it was always a mindset thing, right? It was always mindset. And it was leadership, mindset. And, I dived into a lot of the books that Napoleon Hill has out there, like Outwitting the Devil, Think and Grow Rich, and then leadership books like John C. Maxwell. Those are the kind of people that I looked for, because here's the thing: those books, people think that it has to be a person to mentor you, but reality is these people are experts in their field, and they can also mentor you, and they mentor you differently, right? Because they help with programming the mind. But there was people who I saw who had reached a certain pinnacle of success that I thought I wanted, right? That I looked up to. And those were the kind of the things that kept me going. When I got into the credit repair world, I just took the philosophies that I learned from those types of people, those speakers and those books, and I applied it to the credit repair world as to how would I be, running a business like that, what type of person I would be, what type of client, how would I service that client? How would I genuinely help these people, So it was always along the way of that.
That's nice.
But I will tell you that there is one person that really, since I got to Anaheim, my neighbor, Susie Pineda, she's an amazing real estate agent herself. She lived right next door to me when I first moved in. I always saw the way she lived her life. She was always surrounded by a lot of people who loved being around her. Referral business like you wouldn't believe. And, I always looked up to her. I always really just valued that, because she was a person who was doing it in real estate. And I was just very in awe with her. And, we're really good friends now, and family, I would say. But she was the person that I genuinely looked up to, and, was always there for guidance too. When I would ask her questions, about things I thought, hey, what would you do in this situation? But she's always been fairly, a person who I can admire up close and personal.
Well, that's a good role model.
Yeah.
Seeing the qualities that you wanted to have in your life. So that's really good.
Yeah.
So now I know that you're in a life insurance. You're a life insurance broker, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what was it like when you first started selling life insurance? How did you get into that, actually?
So, funny story, when I was doing the credit repair, I had a buddy of mine by the name of Steven. He had just got introduced to mortgage protection insurance.
Okay.
And he called me out of the blue, and he said, hey, man, I wanted to talk to you about this opportunity. And here I'm thinking, oh, man, it's another multi-level marketing business. Sure. And he was like, hey, I know you work with a lot of real estate agents and a lot of lenders. Have you ever heard of mortgage protection insurance? And I was like, mortgage protection insurance? I was like the PMI stuff? And he was like, no. He's like, this is a life insurance that will pay off your mortgage in the case of a death. And if you don't use it, in other words, if you outlive the 30-year policy, you get 100% of your money back. And I was like, I've never heard of that. And I was like, that's like a no-brainer. Like, why don't more people know about this? And he was like, that's what I said. And he's like, well, hey, I'm thinking because you actually work with real estate agents and lenders, you probably could do pretty well with it. And I was like, yeah, sure, man. Shoot me over the information. And what do I got to do? He's like, well, you got to get your life insurance license. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do that. Send me over whatever details. And I'm not a person who I retain things when I read that I really love, right? But when I read things that are like boring, like the life insurance pre-licensing stuff, Man, it's like the analogy that somebody once told me. It's like trying to eat a spoonful of ground cinnamon. It's that dry, that information, you know.
Right.
And but I did the whole pre-licensing, and I went to go take my test, and man, I barely passed. But you know, I wasn't taking it serious at the time because I was focused so much on my credit repair business that I was like, well, this will just be a side thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I fell into the life insurance world.
So you got the in the more the insurance for for the mortgage. Now, how did it take you to say I'm going to dive in on this business? How long did that happen? How long did that take for you to say that? Because I'm sure you kind of moved on from the credit after a while when you saw something there.
Well, it took me a while because I still never really took life insurance very seriously. I didn't realize at the time how lucrative that industry could potentially be. I was just kind of like, well, I'm licensed, and if I ever need to sell insurance, which I would here and there, I'll just sell to friends and family who need it, real estate agents, lenders, whoever, and it'll just be extra money. And I didn't really
Like a hobby.
go all in. It was just, yeah, I had other things that going on. The credit repair business was doing well. And then I started getting into other little business ventures like drop shipping and selling on Amazon, and
Right.
started doing a lot of other little projects that I was more intrigued with. So it was an on back and forth battle with life insurance because, again, I remembered the information that I read, and I just was like, how boring is that industry? Like, it's not flashy, it's not sexy, it's not, nowadays if it's not sexy, it's not attractive to people to want to get into that industry. Real estate's always been one of those sexy quote unquote industries, right?
Yeah.
And it's looked at as a way to build wealth, and people don't think of that with life insurance. And I definitely was not thinking like that.
Yeah, I know, because people got to think, well, something that happened to me before this thing kicks in. So
yeah, and that's one thing, man. Nobody wants to talk about when they're gonna die. So I mean, nobody thinks about that. But
consider it.
Definitely, I'll share some stories, man. But yeah,
sure, we'll get to that. So, all right. So you did the life insurance. You told me what you did before life insurance. As far as what would you? Let me make I made a note here. At what moment when do you feel like, okay, I made it here. This is what I'm gonna do in life insurance. I made it to the top now. And how did that feel? When have you feel like you made it to the top on what you want to do in the life insurance thing?
Well, okay. So in 2006, when I got into the multi-level industry, which I have no problem with, I actually, that's where I learned a lot of stuff, right?
Sure.
I always saw the pinnacle of making $100,000 a year, right? I thought that was the top. I was like, this is where you reach pinnacle and you made it. And I remember when I finally made my first six figures, it was not in the life insurance yet. It was in the previous business. And then I told myself, wow, $100,000 is not a lot in Orange County. So I thought I had made it to the top when I hit that, but then I realized I went back and I looked at my finances and I was like, man, it's really expensive out here in California. Like, you need to make a decent amount of money, and $100,000 is still just barely making it in California. That's how it felt,
Sure.
So I thought I had reached that pinnacle when I reached the income level that I started to want to admire back in 2006.
Well, $100,000 is a lot of money to make. Even now, not that many people make it, and it's considered a good, nice income. Unfortunately, in California, everything's very expensive. So
it almost feels like 100,000 is like 60,000 in California, huh?
Basically, with inflation, yeah,
Exactly.
probably 40 now.
Yeah.
But I got you. So I'm going to my next one. Let's talk about the life insurance business that you're in. What exactly do you specialize in? What part of the life insurance? Or what do you tell us about that?
Yeah. So one of the things I specialize in, I do help people with term insurance, final expense, which is burial insurance, We got Index Universal Life Insurance, whole life.
What's index? Maybe
Index,
like, yeah.
yeah, Index Universal is where you can some of the money that goes into an index it coincides with an index fund, and so that you can accumulate a little bit more cash value down the road.
Okay.
And then a lot of people who are self-employed, I talk to them about Index Universal life policies because you can generate tax-free retirement income with that. But a lot of people really don't understand life insurance. And, I also help people with fixed index annuities, which basically right now is a great time for people to have a fixed index annuity. Because if you have a 401k, it's going like this, right? It's going up and down. The market's very volatile right now. We don't know which direction it's going to go. And, we saw what happened with crypto. Nothing against crypto. I think that's a great investment. But, that talk to your experts in that arena. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in that arena, but, you can guarantee that you're not going to lose any money.
Oh, that's a good one then. That's a real good one.
Yeah. And but any gains along the way, it's guaranteed income, and you get to keep all your gains. If the market crashes, you don't lose any of your money that's in the fixed index annuity. But there's a lot of different types of within life insurance world. There's a lot of products, right? It's like lenders. There's so many lending programs out there, but people just think FHA or traditional conventional loan, right?
Right.
But if you're in the business, right, being a realtor, that there's so many different types of programs to qualify people to buy a house.
That's right.
Well, there's different types of life insurance programs, and there's a lot of one-dimensional type of people who are agents in this world who say only buy term, invest the rest, and they give a lot of bad information because
the other brokers.
Yeah, they give a lot of bad information, and the reason they're doing that is because they don't know any better. They haven't really explored or dived into the world of the different types of life insurance that there is. But I'm going to just kind of tell you, when you think about life insurance, you should go into it with the Robert Kiyosaki mentality.
Which is?
And you should always leverage other people's money. Mm-hmm. But when people talk about leveraging other people's money, they think of what? Real estate, right?
Yes.
Because you're like, use someone else's money to pay off, the house, or to flip the house, or whatever it is, whatever realm you're in, it's other people's money. But if people would just, and I talk to a lot of, self-employed people, I always tell them, you have to look at the $100 a month that you're paying for the life insurance to leverage the $250,000 that they'll give your family if you were to pass away. Look at the monthly payment that's going to the insurance company as leverage, because if you pass away, it's not your money that's going to your family. It's other people's money that's going to your family.
Gotcha.
But people don't look at life insurance like that. We only think of OPM when it comes to the lending for real estate or businesses, but not for life insurance. But people should think about life insurance as using other people's money to pay off a mortgage. For example, you and I, we look, you sell houses, right?
Yeah.
So you and I are a lot alike. You sell the house, my job is to come in behind you and help protect the house. So if something happens, that mortgage should get paid off.
Right. Because usually somebody in the house is the breadwinner, usually more than the other.
Correct.
Could be the man or the woman. But at some point, anything can happen to each one of them, and then that's where you come in by showing them what's available.
Right. Now, here's the cool thing is there's actual programs out there, Antonio, where you can protect your mortgage with a 30-year product, and if you don't use it and you outlive it, you get 100% of the premiums back.
I've heard you say that. I never heard that before, but that's a really good one. You guys send me that info?
Yeah, I can send you that.
Yeah, for something, I'd like to send that to my clients and let them check it out, and the ones that are interested, I'm pretty sure they will reach out to you. And I also have to share it on my pages here that I have. Good, man. Good. That's
one more thing I just kind of really want to point out about when you're looking at life insurance, life insurance is not really designed just to be used when someone dies. Life insurance has a lot of different benefits built in that will allow for you to be able to use the money in case you got, a terminal illness. So if you got diagnosed with cancer and they told you you have less than 12 months to live, let's say you have a $250,000 life insurance policy.
Yeah.
You can take up to 80% of the death benefit if they told you you have less than 12 months to live, and you can use that to pay off your mortgage, save your life, right? There's a lot of places in Tijuana that do more of a holistic approach to beat cancer, right?
Right. And you try everything.
But think about it. What do we do, and especially in the Latino community? And I try to educate a lot of the Latinos, like, life insurance is not just when you pass away. Like, what if you got sick? We all have family members who've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. What if they had access to that money? Instead of having to raise money at church and car washes and GoFundMe's, what if you can just leverage the insurance company's money?
That's a good one, man. People should know. I know that your insurance could be, based on you talking to the client, you could recommend the best scenario program for them. But that's a good one. I didn't know you can take 80%.
Now there's another thing to it. It doesn't have to just be a cancer. What if you had a heart attack? What if you had a stroke? What if you couldn't go back to work?
Yeah.
As a self-employed person or a business owner, we always try to, the reason we get into entrepreneurship and we want to be business owners and work for ourselves is because we all have that dream to make it to the top. But what happens along the way if you get sick?
Yeah, we don't think about that.
Health insurance is expensive. So what if you can tap into the death benefit to help offset some of those costs, because you have to recover from your stroke. You have to recover from your heart attack. You have to recover from, going through chemo and beating cancer. Like, people don't realize that the world keeps moving and the bills keep coming. Right? So, but what if we're self-employed and we can't work anymore? Wow. And we're forced to sell our house. Yeah. We're forced to take out loans. That's why I always tell people, especially when I sell insurance to people who are self-employed, I always try to tell them, look, man, you read the Robert Kiyosaki books. I need you to kind of look at life insurance as leveraging the insurance money as the leverage. That's what you're using to pay off in case you get sick, in case you come down with a terminal illness. You don't have to die to use it. You can use the insurance money to cover those expenses. And people don't realize that stuff exists. Nobody educates them, especially, en la comunidad latina. Mucha gente no sabe. Like, people don't know. No entienden, no saben. Nadie los está educando, Yeah,
and I think that's why this is good that we're talking about this, because at least it will open up some people's mind about it and be able to inquire more and say, maybe there's more to it than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Only like if I die. But there's other, for especially those self-employed people.
Yeah.
So, what would be your perfect client?
My perfect client is anybody. I love talking to people who are self-employed, Antonio. And let me tell you, I talk to them. I love to talk to them about it because I really genuinely have to remind them, like, hey, when you're self-employed, you're rolling the dice on yourself and you sacrifice so much, right? So what happens if you're putting in 60, 80 hours a week to try to build your business and you're sacrificing time away from your wife, your kids, you're doing all these things, and you do it because the intent is one day you want to become a millionaire or you want to be able to leave a legacy. That's why people start businesses, right? People mostly, they have an end goal in mind. But what if along the way you pass away? All those efforts go to waste, right? Because you never got to the pinnacle of where you sold your business or you were able to leave that wealth. And so all the sacrifice with a check from the insurance company, you can say, hey, all that work that I was doing, here you go. Even though I didn't make it to the top, I still left you $500,000 behind. My work, my sacrifice didn't go unnoticed.
There you go. Yeah.
Right? It didn't go unnoticed because we sacrifice a lot of time from our families, right? So
Sure.
we can go out and build. I see how you do it, Antonio. I got a lot of respect for you, man, because you're a go-getter, right? That's why I remember when we interviewed you for the podcast. Your story is amazing. People should look that podcast up because it's an amazing story. But what happens if along the way something would have happened to you,
I know. I know. And
right?
that's anybody can have that happen to anybody. Could be the healthiest people, and something happens to you. You know.
Life is not promised, my friend. So I really like talking to people who are self-employed. I really like talking to small business owners because, you leave if you're a small business owner and you're the majority of the breadwinner, and you are your number one asset when you're a business owner.
For sure.
So if you are no longer an asset because you're expired,
yeah, your loved
what
ones
happens?
at the house, unless you properly get insured and take care of those loose ends that could be handled with not very costly monthly either.
Correct. It always makes me laugh when people say, I don't know if I got $100 a month, for a $200,000 policy, and I ask myself, man, when you went to the movie theater and you bought the popcorn, the drinks, or you go to the clubs, or you go to the bars, or you go out to nice, we do it so often and it's normal. But $100 for life insurance, man, that's a bill that's a little too expensive for me right now. And I'm like, well, it really does. But and I'll be honest, man, in the industry that I'm in, some people understand it and they grasp the concept and they take it and they run with it. They protect themselves enough, right? They know when they have another child. Like, I'll give you my example, right? This is kind of how I've always had life insurance on myself. I've always had it since I was working. I would get a job, insurance through my job, and then I always had a supplemental, like a private insurance, even if it was $50,000. I had a $50,000 policy because I was not leaving my parents with the burden. It was, at the time at 21, $50,000, like $20 a month. Come on.
You're young. It was less.
Yeah, right. So it was. But here's the thing: over time, when I got married, I bought another policy. When we bought our first house, I bought more insurance. When I had my first daughter, I got even more insurance. Right? It was every time that because here's the thing: I'm building my little nest egg, right? So I got to protect that nest egg so that if I pass away, that nest egg is there for my family, and that they don't have to worry about paying the mortgages on the properties, paying off cars, or any debt that I may have left behind is going to put them in a bad spot. So I always knew that as my family grew and my assets grew, right, I needed to make sure that I continued to layer protection, because if something happens to me, the number one asset in my family, there needs to be something that's going to cover it. And I'd rather leverage the insurance money than my retirement fund.
Okay. All right. Fair enough on that one. Give me a couple of stories, because I got one about sacrifices, which I'm going to get to. But can you give me some stories of some people that you met and then they didn't get insurance and something happened to the thing, and then, you can share people like about that, how they're the breadwinner and they're gone.
It happens very often. And, one story that just kind of really sticks to me, because I had been selling insurance, but I wasn't like public with it, because I was not the person who wanted to be like the guy who was trying to sell to everybody he knows every Thanksgiving and Christmas. And,
he comes a life insurance guy. Let's walk with that.
Yeah, here comes the life insurance guy. Let's go the other way, right? I didn't want to be that guy, so I never publicly had announced it. Yeah. But then one story kind of stuck when COVID first came out.
Yes.
This is where it kind of got interesting. One of my clients, and I don't want to say her name, but one of my clients called me out of the blue, and she was trying to buy an additional $100,000 policy on her husband. And, and of course I was like, yeah, no problem. And come to find out that, I asked him, I was like, has anything changed in his health? What time can we set up a meeting and talk? And she was just kind of like avoiding like questions.
Yes.
And then I was like, you know what? And then she was like, oh, there's one medication that did change. I said, let me see the medication. I'll call the carrier and see if we can still get him some more coverage, right? So I made the phone call. Then I called back and I said, hey, good news. We should be able to get him approved. And then she just starts breaking down. And then I said, what's going on? She's like, well, the reason I'm trying to get that $100,000 life insurance, the truth, Pablo, is that my husband is in the ICU. He's not responding. He has COVID. And, and here's the worst part about it. That September, right, prior to him passing away, that's when they were like, hey, we think we want to buy an additional $100,000, but we're going to wait till the new year. That really struck a chord with me because COVID was new to everybody. Everybody's kind of like flipping out, right?
Yeah.
And September she inquired, but then she told me we're going to wait until New Year. After the holidays, we're going to buy insurance. And I'm going to buy another 100 because they had only bought a small policy for $20,000. Yeah. Originally, it was just for the burial and final expense. And I was like, sure, no problem. He should be eligible for that 100,000. Here I am thinking, and I was like, yeah. And my mistake, I didn't press her hard enough to get it there and then, because I'm not that sales guy. I'm not the guy who's gonna push it and shove it down until you buy, right?
Yeah.
I'm the guy who's gonna I'm a nonchalant kind of guy. I'm just gonna be like, hey, dude, if you don't want it, it's on you, man. I don't care. Yeah, right? Well, it doesn't affect me, right? But in this case, it did affect me. Because I felt like if I would have pressed a little harder, the payment because of his age for that $100,000 was going to be $180 a month. That client would have paid for $100,000, 6-7 payments, and if he would have passed away when he passed away due to COVID, that means that she would have leveraged only paying like $800 or $1,000 to them to get $100,000. And the reason they were thinking about it was because she wanted to make sure that there was money in case, if something happened to her husband, that she could be able to pay off the majority of her mortgage that she had in Moreno Valley.
Wow.
And so she broke down and started telling me that was the reason. And then I was like, well, then I'm sorry, there's not going to be anything we can do. And I felt so bad because it was the first time that I had experienced a tragedy to COVID where we all didn't really know what was happening. And we didn't know how the insurance companies were going to react to it. And sure enough, he ended up passing away. She did get the $20,000 check, but it was not that extra $100,000 would have made a world of a difference for her.
Poor lady. Wow.
And that's when I finally said, okay, I think I posted a story about like what had just happened. And I said, look, it can happen to anybody. I sell insurance. Let me know if you need help. And I finally decided I'm going to let people know that I sell insurance. And then that year, Kobe Bryant passed away.
February, yeah.
You remember when Kobe Bryant passed away? Well, Kobe Bryant is huge in LA. We all felt that impact.
Yeah.
Right? So it just goes to show that it doesn't matter. It could be COVID. It could be a helicopter crash. It could be like death comes for anybody. It doesn't care about your status. It doesn't care about your ethnic background. It doesn't care if you're poor or rich or wealthy. When it comes and it's your turn, it's your turn.
Well, one thing for sure, we're all going to die. We just don't know when. But, we just give an example. I mean, that why people should consider having life insurance, because you could be a healthy and rich as a Kobe, or like the lady that have very little money and have both a tragedy in both ends, So it just helps you be prepared and kind of sleep at night a little better, knowing that your asset is protected or will be protected should anything happen to you. Well, thanks for that. That's something for people to think about when they're listening to this. So going on my next question, I want to talk about sacrifices. What does it take to be successful in this type of business, the life insurance business? What I know you have to give up something because you don't get nothing or nothing.
You have to have like fortitude, right? Great courage to go through the nose, right? Because it's an uphill battle, especially with life insurance. I sell a lot in the Hispanic community. Me gusta vender y educar a Latino, right? So I love to sell in my
community.
And the reason is in our culture we're not taught about leveraging, other people's money to pay off things, but it's an uphill battle, and you get told no a lot, or
Sure.
you get told I'm gonna think about it, and every time you leave somebody behind where it's a I'm gonna think about it, you walk out of that house and you're like, man, if something happens, did I push hard enough? Should I have been a little bit more aggressive? Should I just, maybe I didn't do my job right in educating them right? And you got to be okay with rejection. But you know what? That's not just in life insurance. That's in real estate. That's in any type of sales environment, right? Just in the sales world, period. You got to have that grit. You got to have fortitude to continue through pain, and all the no's and all the rejections. Because every time you go through that no, you're one closer to a yes, man.
For sure. So you got used to a lot of no's, and that's why you were successful in what you do.
Yeah.
And it probably gets easier for you more and more as you help different people.
Yeah.
You explain to them with better examples too as we go along. So, what are your next level goals for you to reach? What you have in mind?
Well, I have a couple of business partners of mine that actually just recently had their businesses acquired by a private equity firm. And honestly, man, that would be the next goal for us, is to build an agency that is attractive enough to be acquired by this private equity firm, and be able to genuinely leave behind the legacy, because all the sacrifice I've put into all my, in my entire journey of entrepreneurship, I've missed a lot of, people, friends' birthdays, family members, quinceañeras. I mean, you
Yeah.
name it. And people just look at me like I'm some weirdo because I never want to, attend certain things. And it wasn't that. It was because one day the goal is to get to a point where I can finally trade all the sacrifice for more time with my family, right? So that's the goal, man. I have a couple of friends that are doing very well in the insurance world, and I'm looking forward to being mentored by them to be able to be acquired one day down the road.
You're gonna be like, the guy, Patrick B. David. You know how he has insurance to be
Yeah,
P. Pablo V. David. Pablo That's good. Hey, listen, he did it. It's just a regular guy, and he turned a big business, and just shows to show you anybody can, with enough guts and fortitude and everything you mentioned, the go-getter attitude. And, I mean, it's available to whoever wants it.
correct.
It's
You're
available.
100% right. Nobody is the only thing that separates us from the people who are successful, that we look at successful at the top, is they get up every day and they just go to work, right? They put in the hours, the sweat, the equity. And I just want to say, Antonio,
Uh-huh.
I've always admired you, bro. Especially since we did the podcast with you, and you shared your upbringing, and your mom's story,
Yeah.
everything that you shared on that podcast. I was just like in awe, and you're like on the go all the time, man. So, you do real estate, you're networking events, you have a successful restaurant, Pollo Inca. You got it. So, and that's what you got to look for, is you want to surround yourself with people. They don't have to always be in your industry for you to have someone to look up to, right?
Yeah.
And you're always on the move, always on the go, and I see you always making time for your family, and I admire and I respect that.
Thank you.
So I know you're right there with me, man.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
waking up every day doing what we do.
We share the same kind of ideas in mind to be successful. So that's why, I wanted to do this with you, because you have a lot to share on your field that people maybe only think of it as one little way of what it is. But I know there's options, like you mentioned, for the self-employed, that you focus on, for the person that has a mortgage, how they can do that. And you can tailor a program depending on the person. And that's exciting for people. So pay attention. And, I'm going to put his name and number at that one in the remark section. So you guys can reach out to him. And he speaks Spanish too. So in case somebody wants to talk in Spanish, we're just doing this in English, but, you can talk in Spanish. So uh, this was what I wanted to ask you before I get to my next one. Like, what would you say to a guy that it's 14, 13, 15 years old, a young Pablo, and you're this Pablo now? Well, what advice would you give that kid? You see them like, man, this kid wants to do something. He said, Pablo, what can I do? What can I look at in life? I see you success. What would you give them? Tips. Yes.
Just become aware, and be more aware of the people you surround yourself with, the environment that you put yourself in, because that also has a lot to do with how quickly you can move up in life, and people don't realize that.
Environment.
um,
Very.
Environment is crucial, and sometimes we're surrounded, and here's the thing is we're surrounded by and become victims of our environment, and we kind of live in like a jail cell, right? Because we don't know any better. So become aware, number one, and number two, expand your network, right?
Hmm?
Look outside of just the people around you, for mentorship. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Be humble enough to know that you don't know everything. Because when I was 14, I thought I knew everything, right? You don't know. You can't tell me, what's right and what's wrong. We think we know it all at that age. So just become aware of your environment, and be look for mentorship, man. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Nice, nice, nice. So, any words for anyone who would like to learn what you do or get into the business that in your industry, that you can say to them?
Yeah, one thing I will tell you, Antonio, is I don't care if you work with another insurance company or not. If you want to learn about just becoming a better agent, who can service a better broker, who can service clients properly and learn how to tailor. It's not an all one size fits all with life insurance, right? Just like lending or houses,
Sure.
there's things that we can do to become better and put people in better positions, and
Mhm.
sometimes those things are not taught properly.
Yeah.
So if you're in the industry of life insurance and you want to learn more about how to become a better, well-rounded agent, connect with me on Instagram. I'm under fortitude_Pablo, or you can find me on Facebook, Pablo Perez. There's a picture of me and my lovely wife, on my Facebook profile, or you can find me through Antonio.
Or you can send me
Um,
your links and I'll put it on there.
yeah, we can set those up. And if anybody wants to reach out, you guys can get a hold of me at 469-844-0376. And I'd be happy to help anybody who wants to learn more about either getting some type of insurance and protecting their assets and their family, or working with anybody out there who's looking to just become better at this craft.
And learning from an expert like you.
Yeah.
So that way they can become a better agent, and that's awesome, man. So you gave us your number, and I know you're gonna share with me your links for your Instagram for your thing, because I know you post things about giving examples of certain things so people can be aware of different scenarios, and that's why I like following you and all that. So I just want to say thanks for your time, and this is very important. I know that we'll do this again another time. I'm pretty sure you have more stuff to share in the future, and I really appreciate your time. But any last words you'd like to say to the people? Because I'm going to share this, of course, in every way possible, and then you can share it with your group of people that you have too. And trust me, I mean, they if they didn't know too much something about you, they will know a lot more.
Right, right. And one thing I do want to say to you, to anybody who's listening, or viewing this podcast, is don't don't think that you can't qualify for insurance because you're on certain medications, or you've maybe had a heart attack or stroke, or even if you're a cancer survivor. I work with too many insurance companies to be able to find coverage for just about anybody.
That's
And that's one thing that a lot of people, especially in la comunidad latina,
see.
um, they think that si tienen diabetes, si les pegó un ataque de corazón, si tuvieron cáncer y ya no pueden calificar por seguranza de vida. No es cierto. Siempre hay un programa para todos. And
That's
that's one thing, English and Spanish. It doesn't matter, man. Just reach out and find out. Don't feel like maybe if you've been denied with one insurance company, one of the big companies, doesn't mean that I don't have companies. I work with a lot of companies that are very friendly in a lot of areas. If you're diabetic and you're on insulin, you can still get coverage. If you had a heart attack 2 or 3 years ago, you can still get coverage. It's not true that you can't. Just because someone denied you doesn't mean that a broker like myself or any other broker who represents multiple companies can't help you. All right. So, just know that because mucha gente le da pena. A lot of people they've been denied once and they don't like rejection. So they're like, I'm not going to apply for insurance no more. And they think that they can't get coverage. And
That's
that's
what.
not true.
Hey, listen, that's a great advice. Great advice for that. So I'm gonna say in Spanish, I guess, because I know we have people in Spanish. So, cualquier pregunta de aseguranza de vida, hable con Pablo. Pablo de español, voy a poner su teléfono ahí, le puede llamar, que le voy a explicar los programas. Y hay programas para todas las personas. Cada uno es específico en su caso, pero él le va a poder guiar y ayudar con la mejor alternativa para ustedes. So with that, man, Jesus, I just want to say thanks to the people here. Keep following us on Unbreakable and check out our stuff. We got always great people that we can learn from. Like today, I learned a lot from Pablo more than I knew before, for sure. And that's the purpose of this. So we hope that you stay tuned and listen to his stuff a couple times just to hear something that you probably went through the first time and went through one ear or the other. But I'm sure there's something there that could be useful for you, or maybe for a family member that has doubts and you think that they might be able to get benefit by talking to Pablo here.
Awesome. And just so you know, I am licensed in 23 states, so I can help you in any state that you might be in, man. I'm licensed in 23 different states.
Perfect. So there you go. So he can help you in many states. So, and I know we got people that we have family in different states. So, there being one of the states that Pablo can help. Perfect. So thank you, Pablo. Really, really appreciate it.
Gracias a usted, Antonio.
Gracias. And thank